It was just a matter of time before I was found out. The apple may not have fallen far from the tree, but I was certainly no lawyer. A name? I had to give her a name, or the jig was up, something she could hang her hat on. It's Vice, Vice, baby. It's Vice, Vice, baby.
Good. Oh, hopefully the microphone's working. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Hope you are having a good day so far, a good Tuesday. Um, so I'm have a little bit of different setup, so please let me know if I'm too quiet or not. I will switch it up right away. And T-Rex, look at you being on time and you call yourself a YouTuber. You got to be at least 7 minutes late to be a real life influencer. Well, it's either be on time or be like an hour late for me. So I will meet you in the middle and be on time. So thank you for being here. And as you come in, please consider the like and subscribe button. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you already subscribed, please. Where the hell did you get a shirt SM7B? I stole it from my dad. Stole it from my dad, so that's why I have it. Hello, Genesis MB. Um, So yeah, if you're already subscribed, please double check that you still are subscribed because YouTube can be a-holes and unsubscribe you. So as people are slowly making them as people are slowly making their way here, please let me know if my microphone is a little too quiet because I have a different setup going on right now. So let me know if you hear any echoes. Let me know if I'm too quiet or when I play the video, please let me know if the video is too quiet. Doing a little bit of different thing here because I am fancy like that. Move things around. So, today on the agenda is the very much awaited, the beloved, things are not going well. There you go. Cannibalism. Yay! Well, I don't know if yay is the appropriate response, but hey, people have been asking for cannibalism. Well, here you go. This is the do, 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 episode number 14, but really 16 on this channel. Maritime Monday. Cannibalism on the mignonette is how I'm going to assume is pronounced. So, with that, T Rex, hello. I know I already said hello to you. Janice, I'm pretty sure I said hello to you. And Danielle, Hello, hello, welcome. And John H. 2004, hello. Can't believe it's only Tuesday. Wish it were Friday. Friday, gotta get down. Okay, I see. I see. Yeah, I mean, days been going by pretty fast for me, so I'm not complaining. So, you guys know the drill. I'll be muting myself and I'll say hello and goodbye here every now and then whenever people come and go. And I will be on my phone, but I'm not distracted, I promise. My instructions for my little crochet thing is the instruction for my crochet is on the phone, so that's why I'll be playing around on my phone while I listen, but I promise you, I am listening. And I will put in my comments here and there whenever I feel it's necessary. And yeah, so this will be one of the shorter episodes because it is an hour and 25 minutes long, and with my commentary, maybe it'll go over 2 hours. So, Dina Llamas with hats or Charlie the Unicorn? Maybe, I don't know. Hello, Ginger with the Soul. Welcome. Just in time for us to start. So let me double check everything is set up correctly. And yes, it is. That's a miracle. All righty. So, bloop. Awesome. Okay. Let us get started, shall we? This is episode number 14, the most requested video to be played, the very first cannibalism on Maritime Monday. Hello, the throne is mine. Welcome. Long time no see. Wow. Probably fall asleep during the stream, so I'll say good night now. Well, T-Rex, if you do fall asleep, hope you have a beautiful sleep. Sweet dreams. Oh, and before I start, let me just unmute the desktop audio so you guys can actually hear everything. And again, this is my last reminder for right now. Please let me know if you hear echoes, if I'm too quiet, or if the video is quiet, and I'll adjust the volumes as necessary. Let us begin.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How's everybody doing? It's me, Legal Vices, and I am here, and it is another Monday. So, before we start, I got a question here for y'all. It's just a total random housekeeping question. Uh, so I will throw up this question here in a poll. I've just changed the microphone position off to the side instead of right here in front of me. Just gonna ask a quick poll here. Uh, mic position, new or old? New, old. All right. The poll is up. Just to answer the quick poll. The reason I moved it was because I talk with my hands a lot, and I notice I've been hitting the microphone a lot while I talk, and it gets in the way of typing things if I have to type something. So I don't know how this affects the sound
Hello, Lisa. Welcome.
quality. Um, so I mean, if there's a noticeable decline in the microphone sound quality, then let me know, and we'll go back to where it belongs. So it's up to you. I'm just
And welcome, welcome, Rose. The old stream spot where he took over your room. Well, this is before he took over your room. Yep. So this is his little office area and also a drinking slash cigaring room.
just curious to whether there's a noticeable difference in the sound quality. So all right. Well, everybody says it sounds fine, so maybe we'll just keep it here. It's just weird now. I have it out of my peripheral vision. All right. Okay. Well, all right. Got that major crises out of the way here. Flux starting us off with a super chat, like the new mic placement, hashtag Panzer Prison. And ladies and gentlemen, I have to confess, I'm wearing pants. It's just got too chilly here at night. Uh, I could close the window and that would maybe warm it up a bit more, but
Hello, Melly. Welcome, welcome.
I think winter pants season is upon us. Granted, they're pants that I would never be caught dead in showing in public, so you will never see them. But they're sky blue and they have little multiple colored hearts and kittens on. Hey, they're soft and fuzzy, and they were $5 at the local market. So all right. Ooh, knuckles cracking. So here we are. We've got through the weekend. Nick is back, as we all know. We got through my Friday thing. Uh, we survived everything we had to survive. That was great. That was totally awesome. Um, it appears that it also inadvertently started some drama again, uh, but who cares? We had our drama dose, our LawTube drama dose this weekend, and Steph, the Alter Nerd, had a birthday celebration yesterday that was well attended by internet peeps. Um, Drex, if you caught his stream today, Drex was on fire. Uh, yeah, I would recommend people go check out Drex's stream. But with that, oh, it's weird having all this brand new space here. I can move my hands about freely. Uh, oh, and people are just asking what drama. Just those who support Nick and those who did not support Nick and those who were wishy-washy in their support for Nick. And it's kind of drawn along the lines that we just naturally assumed it would be drawn along. You can go get your dose from any.
Extra build. Welcome, welcome. Is it just me, or is the volume down really low? I would like some input from other people as well, because again, for people who barely got in, I have a new setup going on. So the volume I haven't tested really. I mean, I just barely listened to my own stream while it was playing, and for me, it was good. We got good, we got good, we got good. Okay. So maybe restart your YouTube app or website wherever you're looking from extra bill and then see how that goes. Okay. We shall continue.
Anywhere on LawTube Twitter or LawTube. Specifically, you can go see Drex uh, at MGTown Podcast or Legal Mindset. Uh, they're the ones that are most clear on the on who stands with whom and where and why. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because people will always have their positions, and you stand with friends or you don't. That's it. They're your friends. You stand with them in public, and then in private, if they're lying to you, you beat their ass. But always stick with your friends in public. Bad weather biker. At least you're not the dummy who wore upside down pineapples. Stop talking about the goddamn pineapples on my shirt. There's only 4 pineapples on that entire pineapple shirt that are actually upside down. Shut up. Uh, yeah, watch some Law Nerd clips. Well, if you're not a big fan of Drex, watch Legal Mindset, watch Law Nerd clips, watch pretty much anybody's clips from LawTube over the weekend.
And the throne is mine. Thank you for this, Connor. I wish I had seen your dad's stream. I appreciate this beautiful introduction. And well, I'm oh my gosh, I'm having so much trouble talking right now. I don't know what you know what? I'll shut up. But yeah, thanks for being here. And Aaron, yes, it is the cannibalism episode. So welcome in. Hope you enjoy. Jessica was a swinger. Well, you know what? I don't want to think about that. So thanks a lot, Melly. Cannibalism indeed, Aaron.
And you'll get your daily dose of of drama. Mimi knows Korea has the best fuzzy pants. Absolutely. I'm a 53-year-old international lawyer, and I love
And hello, Heidi. Welcome.
my sky blue heart and kitty pattern fuzzy pants. Don't knock them, don't laugh them until you've tried them. Yeah, telling you, they're comfortable. Or you can just go to Definitely Not Brandon, who will tell you legal bites and hug from the windows to the wall. Yeah. Or you can just go to Definitely Not Brandon. He'll tell you how it is. All right, today is Maritime Monday. Um, we don't want to get too far off track, but I want to thank everybody who's subscribed over the past couple of weeks. Again, we were supposed to have the 25,000 subscriber stream last Friday. We ended up having a 26,000 two or 300 something subscriber party, but today we're just shy of 26,500 subscribers. So thanks to everybody that's continued to subscribe and support the channel. It's deeply appreciated. Yeah, we're gonna have to retire the 25,000 subscriber emoticon because we passed that a long time ago. Uh, Hey, everybody that's here, we're already up to 206 viewers and only 89 likes. So that's like 1/3 of you have done their job. 2/3 of you haven't done your job. Get down there, hit that like button. It takes that long, and it lets YouTube know that we're here and puts us out on YouTube's radar. We're starting to come up a lot in people's recommendations on the front screen as well as at the end of the video cards. Watch this next. So the hitting the likes and hitting the subscriber button is doing a lot. Hit that notification as well. We have 3 tiers of membership if you want to join, absolutely not required. But hey, it's there if you want to take advantage of it. We're not going to talk much about the super chats today. Just the super chats are there. I try to pay attention to the stream, uh, but can't catch all of them. But I will catch and read and answer and address every single super chat that's made. No minimum required. It's not required to participate. It just guarantees participation. All right, with that out of the way, it's going to be kind of a short show today, I think, because this is a very old case. It's not really an accident, but it is something that happened on the ocean, and it's just fascinating to watch. And of course, the dogs are deathly quiet until I start streaming, and now they're snoring on the sofa behind me here. Are they on the sofa? Where are they? Okay. Oh, that's why it was so loud. Darky's right behind the chair. Just about ran over her. All right. So any heavy breathing, snoring, or slobbery type noises you hear are coming from the dog and not me. So okay. Monday with bison hat. This is my Polish fisherman captain's hat, made from Sturkowski, the maker of Polish fisherman captain hat people. Yeah, we're talking about eating people today because why not? That's the subject for today, cannibalism. Did you know that cannibalism happens a bit? I'm sure. Not. I'm sure it happens a lot less now than it did way back in the day. But back in the 17, 1800s, it was not unheard of. Lots of accidents, and they were sailing ships, so you can't just power through any. If you get caught in the doldrums or things like that, you're stranded for a long period of time with minimal stores to support you. Amanda H, congratulations to you for being awesome.
And Wolf, welcome. Hi, Connor. Love the maritime streams and seeing and hearing your dad. I'd love if you keep doing this. Well, good news for you. This project that I'm doing, does it say on here? It does not say on here. Oh, there it is. I don't know if you can see it quite well, but it says time to complete 3 to 8 hours. I'm on step number 10. This. I'm not even done with the freaking main head. And it's been how many episodes now? So, oh, it will take a while. And yes, I am planning on going through all 80 videos in this playlist. So, this will keep on going until we hit the very last episode. Good to see you.
Awesome. You are our newest member at the clean and sober level.
No, I have not made Dobby.
Congratulations. Stop blaming the dogs. Uh, no, it's the dogs. I snore when I'm asleep. I could be asleep by the end of this. I'm pretty damn tired actually. Um, but what we're looking at here is cannibalism on the high seas. That's today's subject. Why are we talking about this? Because it's a really cool case. That's why. Now, obviously, cannibalism isn't really looked upon highly. It's not looked upon favorably in Western culture. Other cultures may do it, practice it regularly. I don't know how many cannibal tribes there are still out there in the world, but some people still do it. But cannibalism has actually played a role in human civilization for thousands of years, from ancient tribes in South America uh, to basically what we're going to be talking about today: disaster survival techniques. We I don't know if you've seen the movie Alive or read the book.
Mimi Love Good Law. Welcome in. Hello. Dobby Delphi was favorite from Harry Potter. I cry every time. Yep. I tried making Dobby and I gave up. That's why I'm making this instead. Just to get all the basics nice and, ready to go. La, la, la. Yeah. Yep, yep.
About the soccer team that crashed in the Andes. That was a very very famous case where you sort of had to take a nibble or two to make sure you survived. And I mean, of course, we would all say, "Oh no, I would never do that." I would I would never eat another human being. But wait till you have the opportunity and you're starving to death, and I would imagine.
And Lizbod. Hello, hello. Welcome in. I don't know if you're behind or not, Mimi. If you hear this, then you are not behind. If you hear this way later, way after you sent this, then you are behind. I don't know if that helps. But interesting note about that little soccer team stuff. I don't know if you guys knew this, but if you look at that famous picture of them all together, like right in front of the airplane, if you look right in front of them, you can see a set of human rib cage. Just saying.
Imagine it's not a decision that's made lightly, but when it comes down to death or doing that, you know, it it might be something you would do to survive. Now, what we're going to be talking about tonight is the mignonette. The mignonette is a yacht. It's one of the famous cases of cannibalism at sea. It was a 52-foot yacht that was bought by a lawyer in Australia. He wanted just for leisure purposes and to show off to his friends. Uh, but he needed it sailed from Southampton to Sydney. It's about 13,000 miles. he, he wanted to get it there. And he wanted to have here's where we get into problems on the high sea. Yes, long pork. That was long pork was the euphemism for human flesh in the Navy shipping industry back in the day. Ugh. But anywho, so he wanted this ship just to show off to his friends. He had to sail it, and where he started to go wrong perhaps was it's not really an ocean going size of ship back then, uh but he wanted to get it shipped to him from Southampton to Sydney cheaply by sailing it there. So he gets a crew, a very young crew. I think the captain The captain was 30 or 31 years
Dark meat, Rose. Dark meat. And yes, chicken.
old, depending on the different stories. Um, there was a guy named Tom Dudley was the captain, Edwin Stevens, Edmund Brooks, and Richard Parker, the 17-year-old cabin boy. Um, don't don't want to talk. Don't want to give away too many of the spoilers for this case. So, of course, the lawyer is the cannibal. The lawyer wasn't the cannibal. The lawyer just
Hello, Uncle Buck. Welcome in.
bought the ship. The cannibals happened later. Uh, and I mean, interestingly enough, cannibalism wasn't really prohibited by law um, as a survival thing. It was custom, the custom of the sea for an incredibly long period of time was that you could commit cannibalism if it was necessary to survive. But this case actually set a precedent. This case set a precedent for the fact that cannibalism is okay, but murdering someone to eat them is not okay. If Jeffrey Dahmer had just waited for victims to die naturally and ate them, and if he was on the ocean and a long time ago, he could have had a. But no, that was basically it. Like, people just realized that sometimes you just had to do dirty stuff like that to survive. So that wasn't a crime. This case sort of set the precedent for: is it okay to murder someone to eat them, or you just have to wait until they die of other causes before you can eat them? So that's the big question that was here answered legally, and we're gonna watch two videos, one kind of medium length, one sort of short. The longer one talks a little bit about, well, they both talk a little bit about the judgment, but from slightly different perspectives. But there's one interesting thing about this.
Lisa, you're welcome. And glad you're here.
It's very, very fast. I mean, it's creepy fascinating to me because I love Edgar Allan Poe's books. I'm a huge fan of Edgar Allan Poe. They're like my two favorite classical writers would be Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft. Both horror writers. I love their style, but there's a short story that was written by Edgar Allan Poe in 1838.
Peachy Peaches, someone did in fact say cannibalism. Welcome in.
Which, you know how we say that the Simpsons uh the Simpsons predict the future occasionally. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a short story in 1883. And remember, we said that the cabin boy in this case, his name was Richard Parker. He was a 17-year-old Richard Parker. Keep the name Richard Parker in your head because this story that was written in 1838, decades, decades before this mignonette case, probably decades before the mignonette was built. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a short story where a character named Richard Parker, the same as the cabin boy, who we're going to talk about his demise in a minute. Yep, and Barney Yumum is talking about it right here. Where'd you go, Barney? Barney, got to scroll down here and bring you up. Yes, legal advice. Edgar Allan Poe, the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. Great cannibalism sea story in it. That's what we're talking about. Richard Parker is the character in the story. He has the same name as the 17-year-old cabin boy that was murdered and eaten on the Minion.
Is it like a Beetlejuice kind of situation, Melly? Cannibalism, 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 and all five squad members will just come about.
But what happens to the Richard Parker in the short story here by Edgar Allan Poe is Richard Parker was eaten by fellow sailors after hunger set in, I guess. So that's how cool that story is. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a story decades before this happened, where he got the name of the dude that was going to be eaten correctly. Richard Parker. He got the name right. He got how he and why he was eaten correctly. That's wild. I just find that is a creepy level of coincidence. Not that Poe wrote a story about sailors that are stranded, not that Poe wrote a story about sailors that are stranded and had to resort to cannibalism. He wrote a story about a ship and crew that got stranded. They got hungry and they killed and ate a dude named Richard Parker, which is exactly what happened decades later in this case we're going to look at right.
Well, we can test out Melly's theory, and if you guys do share it out to your social medias, I really, really appreciate it. And make sure you put the word cannibalism in your sentence when you do share them. And let's see how many Vice Squad people show up.
Right now. So yeah, this is a wild story. And we're going to jump right into it. And while I'm doing that, we got 300 current viewers here and 175 likes while I'm bringing this video up. Please hit that like button. You can never not make me happy enough by hitting that like button. All righty. And subscribe if you haven't already done so. Super chats, do your thing. And here we go. This is from a new website called Briefcase. It's a great. He only has about 10 or so videos up, I believe. No, he's got a little bit more than this, but this is a great little case where the site where there's a kind of a big collection of weird cases like this. So go check out Briefcase. Oh, wait a minute. Ha. See, Fedorovsky says naturally marinated in port wine. Mmm. I just happen to have a glass of Graham's 10-year tawny port wine right here. Mmm. So there we go. Let's hit the start button on this and let's watch this together. Again, this is not a big maritime collision that we're going to have to work out and talk about the details of who did what wrong and why this thing happened. We pretty much know everything. It's just a weird story that I wanted to share with you. And we can walk and we'll have to talk and pause a little bit together just to bring out some details. So go ahead. Let's watch it.
Today we are looking at a case from the second part of the 19th century. So sit back as we go to the South Atlantic Ocean. In 1883, an Australian barrister and politician named John Want came to England as he wanted to buy a yacht. He had already established a large law practice in Sydney and was known to invest in commercial ventures, many of which turned out to be extremely profitable. He was a keen yachtsman, and in 1862, his father had been a founding member of the Royal Sydney Yacht Squadron. Mr. Want travelled to the town of Cowes on the Isle of Wight, where he was shown a number of yachts, but there was one that caught his eye. This was a yacht called the Mignonette. It had been built 16 years earlier in 1867 and was 52 feet long. Even though the vessel was not designed for long voyages, it was still a sturdy boat, and Mr. Want decided to purchase it. However, the only way he could get the Mignonette to Australia was by sailing it there. This would not be an easy voyage.
Yeah, so there we go. That's what we were just talking about. It wasn't built for long voyages from England to Australia. But lawyer wants it, and he wants it cheap, so he's gonna try to do it. And cue bad things happening.
As despite its length of 52 feet, the boat was considered small for such a journey, and the prospect of sailing 15,000 miles to Australia was not something that very many people who Mr. Want approached would consider. However, he persevered and eventually found a crew willing to sail the Mignonette to Australia. His captain was a 30-year-old gentleman named Mr. Thomas Dudley. Surprisingly, he seemed quite keen to undertake the voyage, and it transpired
That's a pretty old-looking 30-year-old.
that he had been considering emigrating to Australia for some time. The first mate was Mr. Edwin Stevens. He was
So, Mimi, this is why this Danielle here has the nickname Little D, because there's two different Danielles. There's the capital D Danielle and our good old Little D. So, two different people, but can get confused easily.
He was 37 years old and a very experienced sailor, having first taken to the high seas at the age of 14. The other crew members were 39-year-old Edmund Brooks and a 17-year-old orphan boy who had very little sailing experience named Richard Parker. First mate Edwin Stevens had previously sailed with Thomas Dudley, and the two got on well. On the 19th of May 1884, the four-man crew set sail from the English port of Southampton, bound for Sydney. For the first 6 weeks, the voyage was rather uneventful. The sun had been shining on most days, and the seas were relatively calm. However, as they sailed south on their route towards
So was that a steamship? No, it was a sailboat. It was a sailing ship. Uh,
the Cape of Good Hope, they encountered a storm that was accompanied by extremely strong winds. It was now the 5th of July, and although the yacht seemed
my birthday. Another tie to the story.
to be coping surprisingly well in the conditions, Captain Dudley instructed the crew to heave to. This was a way of slowing the boat's forward progress, as well as fixing the helm and sail positions. He did this so that the boat could continue without being steered, enabling the crew time to rest. However, just as this was done, and Richard Parker had been sent below to prepare food, a very large wave broke over the yacht, which washed away the bulwarks, and the mignonette was pushed onto its side. Captain Thomas Dudley could see that the yacht was in a lot of trouble and quickly told Edwin Stevens that they must lower the one lifeboat they had. No sooner had the lifeboat touched the water that the four crew members climbed on board, having grabbed what little provisions they could. As they turned and looked back, they watched the mignonette, the yacht that had been their home for the previous 6 weeks, sink out of sight on its way to the bottom of the ocean. The lifeboat was not particularly sturdy.
Now, okay, you said I was coming in a bit hot, so I have pulled the mic down just a bit. Legal advisor, could you do one on the Salem witches? Scott, internet historian guy, is going to be doing something on the Salem witches very, very soon. He's the one I'd
Roundabout with Diane. Hello, hello. Welcome in.
send there because he's actually researching it. I just talk about shit. But yeah, so here we got these guys. They've just got off their ship, and minutes after they abandon the ship, it sinks. There's nothing left. It's just them in their boat. And he talked about their provisions. They managed to get what food they could before jumping into the lifeboat. And it wasn't a lot. Yeah. Yeah. The dog snoring probably does get picked up because it's pointed more in their direction rather than up and away from them. I'll just have to keep them out of the room. So, all right, let's get back to these guys and learn what they had to eat for the brief period of time they had it to eat.
The boards were only 6 millimeters thick, and it had not been built to withstand the weather conditions in the Atlantic Ocean. Fortunately, before boarding the lifeboats, Captain Dudley had the presence of mind to get the compass from the deck, as well as the sextant and chronometer. Their position seemed quite perilous in a flimsy lifeboat adrift in the Atlantic Ocean, with the nearest land, the small island of St. Helena, some 700 miles away. The four men looked to what they'd been able to salvage from the yachts, and when everything was put in the middle of the lifeboats, they all suddenly realized the seriousness of their situation. All they had were 2 tins of turnips and no fresh water. Captain Dudley was an experienced sailor. He managed to use.
So, how's that? That's what they had, a couple of cans of turnips and some water. Yeah, not looking good. They're somewhere in the middle of the South Pacific or South Atlantic, I guess, or South Pacific. I don't know where the hell they were. They're out in the middle of the ocean. I don't know the exact location where this went down.
What little he had to make a sea anchor. This was designed to
Okay, and what a sea anchor does, hey, we can talk about something maritime. A sea anchor isn't like an anchor that you drop to the bottom of the ocean to keep you from moving anywhere. A sea anchor's job is to slow you down or try to keep you on a straight, slow course. It's it's essentially like if you dropped a parachute in the water. It just collects water and sort of weighs you down and keeps you slow. That's the best way I can describe. Like the purpose of a sea anchor would be like if you threw away an anchor, like like a parachute in the water to try to slow it down and drag the vessel. Aussie Overlord. All right, gents, whose blood are we drinking first? Well, there's only one lucky guy in this, or unlucky guy in this position. Uh, yeah, and again, it's the Australians, as our Maud Allen said. You know, WTF Australia, and he can say that as an Australian. Uh, so let's hear about how he created this sea anchor, which, like, is normally made out of like a net or a cloth or something.
stabilize the lifeboat. And no fresh water. Captain Dudley was an experienced sailor. He managed to use what little he had to make a sea anchor. This was designed to stabilize the lifeboats, which was
Also, I just realized I don't have the subtitles on, so that's my bad, people. Oops. And just in case, I'll raise the volume on this a little bit. Not too much.
very important when the winds were blowing and the seas were rough. He planned to travel west. He knew that by doing this, they would cross
That's
the commercial
funny.
shipping lanes, and it would be their best chance of getting spotted and then picked up. However, it did take a number of days before the crew would agree to give him fabric from their clothes so
Yes.
he could make an improvised sail. If any of them were in any doubt about the severity of their plight, they soon realized when before any of them slept on the first night in the lifeboats, they had to fend off a shark with their oars. For the first 2 days, none of the men
Okay, Rose, I'm sorry. Jeez.
ate anything. They hope that the sea may provide for them, but they had no means by which to catch any fish, and it had barely rained, so they were unable to drink very much water. On the 7th of July,
Hmm.
Captain Dudley opened the first tin of turnips, and he shared them equally amongst the crew, a meagre ration, and they now only had one tin left. The empty turnip tin would now serve to catch rainwater, if it ever rained. 2 days later, a turtle was spotted, which Edwin Stevens managed to catch and bring on board.
See, Farron, if you ever watch this, there are turtles out in the sea. There are sea turtles. If you were there for our unexplained cast with Farron Balance a couple of weeks ago, talking about the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster, in my drunken idiocy, I was there. She was talking about the shuttle command module crashing into the ocean, and I mentioned, what about the sea turtles? And she called me a fucking idiot about because there's sea turtles in the ocean. There's one right here. They caught it.
This, along with the second tin of turnips, kept the crew fed for the next 7 days.
Casey says
However,
Australia
they were
is not
unable
real.
to drink the turtle's blood, as
Thank
although
you.
Captain Dudley had tried to catch the blood in his chronometer case, the winds that day were quite strong, and as the waves broke over the side of the lifeboats, the blood became mixed with seawater. As the sun beat down on them, and they could see no signs of rain, the men eventually started to drink their own urine. Their lips became parched, and the exposure to the sun, sea, and wind.
Yeah, drinking your own urine only gets you so far. I mean, that's your ultimate emergency water supply for about a day. Then you just lose any benefit. I mean, that's where drinking your own urine falls on the scale of desperation. It's below drinking the blood of sea turtles, and apparently above eating humans. So where does it fit on the grotesque scale? Drinking your own urine is squarely between eating human bodies and drinking sea turtle blood. But they didn't even get to drink the sea turtle blood because the wind was blowing it everywhere and it was getting mixed with water. And there you go.
Wind meant that their skin became sore. In desperation, young Richard Parker drank seawater and became quite ill, as did Edwin
Yeah,
Stevens.
don't drink seawater. Yeah, do not drink seawater. You will get dehydrated. It is way saltier than you think. It will lead to dehydration, muscle cramps, hallucinations, and then a horrible, painful death. And again, Casey, I know I mentioned it, but I want to get it again louder when we're on pause. Thank you so much for the super chat. Australia is not real, as confirmed by the people who.
And hello, Paul. How are you doing? Vice Vice Baby Maritime Mondays was the best hour or two of the week. I always look forward to them. Well, welcome in and let's enjoy it together. Because pretty much all of these are new to me. Connor hasn't felt the Vice Squad roast yet. We are breaking him in. He's just so darn sweet, it's hard. It's okay. It's whatever. And hello, Gigi. How are you doing? And Cynthia. Welcome, welcome. Yummy? Yes. Very, very yummy. If you don't stop stopping it, we will never get through. I
Definitely do not live in Australia. Aussie Law, Alan, and others. It is a non existent fictional place created probably by Terry Pratchett.
Hello, Sweetfly.
Their situation had become so serious that after 4 days without food, Captain Dudley raised a question as to whether one of them should be sacrificed in order to save the other three, since boarding the
Okay, now here's the thing. Here's where I have the question. How long would it take you to start contemplating eating a human body? Not just eating a human body, but literally sacrificing a living human being to eat their flesh.
Immediately. Day one.
How long would it take you? I would like to think that it would take longer than 4 days. I would like to think I can go 4 days without food. But I mean, water is the biggest problem. Liquid. You need some water. Blood is salty, urine is salty, the seawater is too salty. Peter Watkins. Peter Watkins just 45 minutes. I think that may be maybe a little too soon. Spooky Spoon, maybe a second. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you need the water. I mean, water is going to kill you before lack of food kills you. A long time before. I would like to think they could have like bled themselves or something, or I don't know, but I, I would be more concerned about water, um, and how to get water. But say, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten much for 4 days, except for a couple turnips. Let's sacrifice somebody. Eh. Entry required. Thank you so much for the super chat. At Casey, listen to Illegal Vices and Aussie Overload. Of course, Australia is real. If it were not, the rest of the Western world would be flooded with mental patients and psycho killers. But we could have claimed Chopper Reed for our own. All right, let's get back to these guys that took them 4 days to figure just to go. Who's gonna die? I mean, I'm fat, so I need a lot of food. I would like to think that I could at least. I mean, that's the joy of being fat. I'm going to be one of the last ones to die of hunger. So yay for me. But I would like to think that I would at least be able to last until someone else died. Like, okay, he's dead. Now we can feast upon his flesh. Not let's make someone dead so we can feast upon their flesh. Ozzy Overlord said, he's a bit wrong. Nope, he's not wrong. Jason McConnell, thank you so much for the super chat. First, Poe. Second, the boat was literally named after a seafood sauce. Oh, it is too? Mignonette is a seafood sauce. How much foreshadowing did this crew need? Especially poor young Richard Parker, who apparently was illiterate. That's a nice one. The boat was literally named after a seafood sauce. You are not wrong. That was pretty good. Thank you. Entry required asks, have you been out on the heavy seas? I have not. My dad saw propellers more than once. I have been several miles out to sea. I've never been like on the high seas in the middle of a typhoon, but I've seen 15, 20-foot waves that were way more than I wanted to think. I mean, when you're out there in the sea in the big storms, you can get 50, 60, 70, 80-foot waves. Just, I mean, insane. And Jason McConnell, okay, we got you. That's the post of the day so far. I like that one. And Baloney Bong. And again, if you saw the Brooks trial jury instruction thing that I uploaded, it got copyright.
And then Chadwick Myers, Connor learning his dad would consume another man, and all while he's hooking. Well, if you tune into plenty of experts FNL, then you know the conversations that Valhalla and I have. That's all I'll say.
Struck because of an A&E stupid sovereign citizen video that I included. So I had to re-upload it. There's a big section for like 20 minutes. We were arguing about whether it's pronounced baloney or Bologna, all because of Baloney Bong here. $5 super chat. Thank you so much. The human body is approximately 60% water. Two birds stoned at once. Well, that's what they're gonna do. I mean, that's the idea. That you drink the blood and eat the meat. Mmm, tasty. All right, two more super chats and we'll dive back into this. When you're dehydrated, your blood can be too thick for a stock to draw. Yuck, like curdled milk to drink. Yeah, that's. I wonder how dehydrated you have to be for your blood to start to thicken. Oh, we talk about such interesting things on this channel. Casey, Australia lost a war against emus. Well, they've also historically lost wars against mice and rabbits. Mice, rabbits, and emus. Uh, sorry, my Australian people. I love you, but yeah, you have a rodent problem. It's not funny, really. If you go watch the videos about some of the rodent problems, I mean, it's pretty freaking amazing. Well, let's get back to these guys. Don't have a rodent problem. If they had a rodent problem on their and remember that the wood in this lifeboat is 6 millimeters thick. That's like a quarter of an inch thick. And frogs, yeah, they had a frog war. But yeah, so if these people would have had a rodent problem, they wouldn't have had to worry about eating each other after only 4 days. So how did they resolve the situation? Let's find out.
In the lifeboat on the 5th of July, they had not seen any ships, not even a lone vessel on the distant horizon. Captain Dudley said that they would decide on who should die by drawing lots. However, this suggestion caused some disagreement between the men.
And in case you didn't know, drawing lots is essentially like drawing straws. You know, where the shortest straw is the loser. So that's what it's basically. The four of them, they drew straws to see who was. Oh, and cockroach. Everybody has lost a war to cockroaches. Nuclear bombs can't take those out. So what are we gonna do? But yeah, so they basically drew straws to see who was gonna get whacked.
Especially the oldest member of the crew, Edmund Brooks. He was very much opposed to the idea and reiterated that they are in the shipping lanes and they may spot a ship and be rescued at any moment. A few more days passed.
And again, if I think I talked over it a bit ago. When they were making the sea anchor to slow them down, it's because they were in the main sea lanes where the commercial ships would sail, and so the idea was to keep them there.
How are you doing, Santiago?
In the shipping lanes, so that if a ship did have to happen to pass, they'd be able to see it and hopefully get its attention. So that's why this guy was against eating people after only 4 days. He's like, let's give it a little while longer to see if a ship is coming along to pick us up.
To the idea and reiterated that they are in the shipping lanes and they may spot a ship and be rescued at any moment. A few more days passed, and the men's desperation and despair increased. Richard Parker seemed to be particularly weak. He spent the days and nights lying in the keel of the boats, and as he did, the talk of one of them being killed and eaten continued. Captain Thomas Dudley and First Mate Edwin Stevens thought that this would be the only way they may survive. They both had wives and children and believed that they needed to resort to such measures in order to be able to live through the ordeal until they were spotted by a passing ship.
Okay, this is where it starts to get a little bit dark. Remember they were going to do it democratically. You're doing the luck of the draw. You draw straws, and if you lose big time. But no. Everybody's like, let's not be so hasty. They wait a couple more days, waiting for the skinny little orphan person who nobody is going to miss to start to get a little bit weak, a little bit sleepy, a little bit daisy, you get a little bit dazed. And then they start saying, "Well, I've got a wife, I've got kids. You're the captain. We all have a reason to live, and a little orphan boy there, he ain't gonna be missed." I have an idea. Rock, paper, stake.
Be able to get wives and children and believe that they needed to resort to such measures in order to be able to live through the ordeal until they were spotted by a passing ship and would be able to get passage home. On the 24th of July.
Hey, Steph's in the chat. Hey up, everyone. I'm currently on my dinner break at work, and it's quite fitting as I'm eating that topic on deck. Here is cannibalism. Absolutely. Well, you're just about to get to the cannibalism part. I hope you're having a very, very, very rare steak. And happy birthday to you yesterday. We mentioned it was your birthday. We sent out some birthday wishes to you. Oh, wow. The mic just got possessed by Satan. Now I see it got really hot there. Hang on. I really need to figure out why my mic is doing things on its own accord. There we go. Let's get back to the cannibalism story. Poor young Richard Parker is about to be the former Richard Parker.
July, the men.
Oh, don't you dare buffer, you bitch.
They both had wives and children and believed that they needed to resort to such.
Hello, Susan. Welcome. Hey, Connor and everyone, just popping to say hello. I have a ton of papers to grade, so I have to get back to it. Well, happy grading, and thank you for popping by.
Measures in order to be able to live through the ordeal until they were spotted by a passing ship and would be able to get passage home. On the 24th of July, the men had become very desperate. Surely they would not survive another day. Captain Thomas Dudley and First Mate Edwin Stevens silently signaled to each other that young Richard Parker should be killed.
See, Santiago, honestly, it's going by pretty well. Yeah, I'm surprised.
They did not believe he would survive
Can you just see that? I mean, this poor dude, they're like, "Oh, we're really hungry." He's like, poor bastard.
Much longer, and killing him before his natural death would mean that they would be able to drink his blood. The two men approached him. He was drifting in and out of consciousness. Captain Dudley said a short prayer. Edwin Stevens then held the young man's legs, and as Captain Dudley looked down on him, Richard Parker looked up and whispered, "What, me?" before the captain cut the delirious and defenseless young man's jugular vein with his penknife, making
Can't you just see him? He's like, "What, me? Fuck." Poor kid. That's like the last thing you saw. He's like, "What? Oh, it's me? Shit!" And then he gets knifed in the neck. Ugh.
the delirious and defenseless young man's jugular vein with his penknife, making sure to catch the blood in his chirometer case. All three men then drank the blood and spent the next few days eating his flesh and bones. Surprisingly, First Mate Edwin Stevens, who had very much supported the idea of eating a member of the crew, actually ate very little. 5 days later, on the 29th of July, a German ship named the Montezuma spotted the small lifeboat bobbing up and down on the waves. The captain instructed his crew to sail towards it.
5 days. 5 days after killing poor young Richard Parker and snarfing down his juicy little bits. Only 5 days later, they're rescued. Could they have waited 5 more days? Could they have waited just 5 more days before they murdered poor young Richard Parker and drank his blood and ate his flesh as if he were Jesus himself? Um, and while you got to wonder, would they be thinking that if only we had waited a few more days, or just, I mean, it sounded like Richard Parker was on his last leg, so to speak. They could have just waited another day for him to go.
The grading and cannibalism is a pretty interesting pair. So have fun with that. Way to miss all the cannibalism. Well, stay tuned. Um, they probably saved him some suffering, but yikes. But remember, this is the story we get. They probably easily overpowered him, but dang, raw yikes and eek. Yeah. Well, I mean, you really can't build a fire, so you gotta do what you gotta do.
Instead of going the whole
I see. They said the sharks got him nice.
Monty Python route. I'm not dead. I feel happy. That kind of thing. Casey, new member, thank you so much for joining the memberships. And Statuesque Miss 2845. Yeah, when trying to pick up bodies to eat, it starts democratically, but never pans out. Unless it's the frying pan. Cannibalism. All right, let's get back to the story of the rescue and the trial.
Captain Thomas Dudley, first mate Edwin Stevens, and crewman Edmund Brooks were all rescued.
Ooh, this question is going to be answered. I wonder
Captain
why
Dudley
they ever
spent
admitted
the
to
next
it.
days writing an account of how the Mignonette sank and their 24-day ordeal in the lifeboats. On Saturday, the 6th of September, the German ship docked in Falmouth, in the English county of Cornwall, before continuing its journey to Hamburg. On their arrival back in England, the three men attended the customs house, where Captain Thomas Dudley and First Mate Edwin Stevens entered statutory statements. These were a requirement of the Merchant Shipping Acts. When a vessel had been lost at sea, the men assumed that they were protected by custom of the sea, so did not hold back and told the authorities exactly what had happened to them and all the ghastly details of how they survived by killing and eating the cabin boy. However, this custom was just that, a custom.
That's the thing. It was not unknown. It was not unheard of that there. And previous to this, which we'll talk about in a bit, previous to there are other famous cases where ship's crew gets stranded, they get shipwrecked, and it was a customary practice that you could eat humans and not to survive and not face any criminal punishments. But again, here's the problem.
And was not law. The duty
It was
police
not law.
sergeant of the Falmouth Harbour Police was named James Lafferty, and following the statements that were made by Captain Thomas Dudley and First Mate Edwin Stevens, he decided that he should question the two men further. The statements were then telegraphed to the Board of Trade and to the Registrar General of Shipping. Meanwhile, Sergeant Lafferty took the knife used to kill Richard Parker, knowing that this may later be used in evidence. The three men were then detained until a decision on what should happen to them came back from London. However, it was a Saturday, and the decision should really come from the Home Office, which was closed for the weekend. The sergeant decided that he would arrest the men on the charge of murder on the high seas. He obtained the warrants from the mayor, and the men were all escorted to the police station. Arrangements were then made for them to appear before the magistrates 2 days later, on the morning of Monday, the 8th of September. Captain Dudley still believed that they acted lawfully by the custom of the sea, so was confident that the
Maybe because I am, Chadwick. Maybe because I am. Who knows?
charges would be dismissed by the magistrates. However, the magistrate was unsure what to do, so sought advice from the Treasury solicitor. The hearing was adjourned, and the men were returned to their cells. By Wednesday, the 10th of September, the case was being discussed by the Home Secretary.
Now, this is going to be interesting how they handle this case. We had to have some legal connection here to the case rather than just morbid curiosity about snacking on some Humes. Uh, Mr. K said, "Legal advice. Hey, tell Chandler Halderson that. Yeah, it's a old. You know, Chandler Halderson took a little nibble. He had to take a nibble, or at least lick the knife. One of the two. But yeah, the legal proceedings are really, really, really interesting. How they handled it.
Sir William Harcourt. After consulting his top legal advisers, it was decided that they would all reappear in court on the 18th of September, but would be granted bail to enable them to spend some time with their families. By now, news of the three shipwrecked men had been reported all over Britain, and the Victorian public were very intrigued by their plight. It was not only reported in Britain, the story of the sailors who ate the cabin boy to survive was reported all over the world, and it seemed that public sentiment very much favoured Captain Dudley, First Mate Edwin Stevens, and Sailor Edmund Brooks. It was reported that when the three men returned to court on the 18th of September, the brother of the cabin boy, Richard Parker, shook hands with them and did not appear to show them any ill will. Attempts were made to raise money.
And how big of a guy is that? You murdered and ate my brother, but hey, I get it. We're good. How big of a guy is that? Now, Vicky T, the C is never wrong. Don't bring that garbage around here. Wash your mouth out with soap. That's not welcome here. That kind of talk is not welcome here. Okay, let's get back to the brother.
To pay for the sailors' defence. Public donations were forthcoming, and the lifeboat was put on display. So, for a small fee, inquisitive people were able to view the place where the men had spent 24 days and where they had committed their cannibalistic act. The case had presented.
We're the crewmen all Wisconsin natives. Seriously, I think so. What is wrong with Wisconsin? You got a lot of people that like to murder people and snack on them there. Must be something in the water, probably salt water. But yeah, all right. Get back to our heroes. How are they going to get out of this legal conundrum they're in?
For a small fee, inquisitive people were able to view the place where the men had spent 24 days and where they had committed their cannibalistic act. The case had presented some difficulties, as the only witnesses to the alleged crime were Thomas Dudley, Edwin Stevens, and Edmund Brooks, and as for defendants, all had the right to remain silent. The prosecution,
none
however,
of them did.
Decided to offer no evidence against Mr. Edmund Brooks and requested that he be discharged. This meant that at the trial, he could now be called as a witness for the prosecution.
See, he's grassing. He's flipping. Yeah, we're not going to charge you. Now you can be a witness for us because we're going to let you off the hook. Grass.
The trial opened on the 3rd of November 1884 in the city of Exeter before Judge Baron Huddleston. Judge Huddleston was aware that there was strong public opinion.
I mean, if you had to go up against a judge that looked like that, he doesn't look like he'd be the most kind and generous and lenient of people. He looks like he'd probably eat somebody given half a chance.
In favour of the 3rd of November 1884 in the city of Exeter before Judge Baron Huddleston. Judge Huddleston was aware that there was strong public opinion in favour of an acquittal, but the Home Secretary, Sir William Harcourt, was very anxious that Thomas Dudley and Edwin Stevens should be found guilty of murder. The prosecution was led by Arthur Childs QC, and Arthur J.H. Collins QC led for the defence. Both Thomas Dudley and Edwin Stevens pleaded not guilty. The judge proposed to proceed in a way not used in a British court since 1785, which was by a special verdict. He outlined that the jury would only be presented the facts of the case and would not give an opinion as to whether the defendants were guilty or innocent. That decision would be determined by the judge. The trial would then be adjourned, so an expanded bench of several judges would be able to hear the counsel's arguments at a later date. The most compelling witness was Edmund Brooks. He described the actions of the defendants whilst in the lifeboats. He believed that Richard Parker would have died first, and in killing and eating him, they had managed to save themselves. After the presentation of evidence, the judge gave the jury a binary decision to accept his direction and find the two men guilty of murder or return a special verdict. Without waiting for a decision, the judge produced a special verdict that he had written the night before. He then asked the jury to indicate their approval of the facts as he read them out. He believed that the evidence had established that all of the men would have died if they had not eaten Richard Parker. Parker was very weak and would probably have died first. At the time,
This is really weird. Yes, that's the dog snoring. If you can hear it. Yeah, that's the dog snoring. Yeah, this trial was really wild. Uh, they didn't really call many witnesses other than, well, I mean, the only witnesses they could call were the people involved. But it was a directed verdict where they said, you know, either you agree with me and find him guilty, or you don't, and here's why he's guilty. Do you agree to this? The idea is even the judge was saying that, the guy probably would have, Richard Parker probably would have died. Uh, but the thing is the killing.
time of the killing, there was established that all of the men would have died if they had not eaten Richard Parker. Parker was very weak and would probably have died first. At the time of the killing, there was no reasonable prospect of being saved, and that there was no greater necessity for killing Richard Parker than any of the other three men. As the judge read out these statements, he took the jury's silence as agreement. Finally,
Yeah, so you read the statements and say, do you agree with these? And the jury sits there quietly and he says, well, okay, you didn't say anything, so therefore you must agree with me. So, okay, here's my verdict. Not the most fair trial ever.
the judge said, but whether upon the whole matter the prisoners were and are guilty of murder, the jury are ignorant and refer to the courts. The judge then renewed the defendant's bail, and the case was referred to the Queen's Bench Division for its decision. The Queen's Bench Division sat on the 4th of December, and proceedings were presided over by Lord Coleridge, with an expanded panel of judges. The defence barrister, Arthur Collins, told them that the killing was done out of necessity. He outlined that his clients had no option but to take another's life in order to increase their own chances of survival. There were very few legal cases for which Mr. Collins could refer, but he did cite the 1842 case, United States v. Holmes. In this case, the US ship William Brown sank after hitting an iceberg. Crewmen, including Mr. Holmes, believed that their lifeboat was overloaded and in danger of sinking, so put 14 passengers overboard in the cold water and ultimately to their deaths. In this case, the judge in the Pennsylvania courts instructed the jury that necessity might be a complete defense, but the person who commits the crime claiming necessity must be faultless and owe no duty to the victim. Mr. Holmes was convicted, but he only received a very short prison sentence and a $20 fine. At the end of the proceedings, the judges withdrew to consider the verdict. When they returned, Lord Coleridge said that the panel of judges found that there was no defence of necessity to a charge of murder. He questioned how the comparative value of lives should be measured. Was it strength or intellect or something else? He also did not think that it was any more necessary to kill Richard Parker than any of the other three men who were on board the lifeboats. Thomas Dudley and Edwin Stevens were then sentenced to death with a recommendation for mercy.
Yeah, so they're in a bit of a conundrum. They thought what they were doing was proper. They thought they had custom on their side. They may have had custom on their side to a certain extent, but then we get down to this: was it necessary to kill this one person to survive? And that's what they were just talking about. What's the comparative value of the human lives amongst the four on that boat? Is it the oldest that goes first? Is it the weakest that goes first? Is it the stupidest one that goes first? How do you decide? How do you value the life and determine which life is the least valuable? Oh, and by the way, you murdered him. It may have been necessary to eat him, but it may not have been necessary to murder that specific person at that specific time. They failed to prove it was necessary to murder the guy. Necessary to eat him is one thing. Necessary to murder him and then eat him is a different thing. So they held them guilty of murder and they recommended a sentence of they sentenced them to death and recommended mercy. Um, yep. And how goes this? Oh wait, hang on. Let's clear off these super chats before we get to the finale of this video. We've only got just a minute or two left. Eve Barlow's rotten crotch. They probably just have gone down on each other for protein. I mean, if you're gonna go, you should go with an empty sack and a smile on your face. Eve Barlow's rotten crotch. That's so wrong. I I tend I tend to agree with that. But thank you for the super chat. You degenerate. Uh what do I got here? Bad weather biker, Wisconsin. Here, I live literally 15 miles from Ed Gain's place. Yeah, I forgot about Ed. You got Ed Gain, you've got Jeffrey Dahmer, you got Halderson, Taylor Shabusiness. You got a lot of murdery, hungry people there. I'm not saying Chandler Halderson or Taylor Shabusiness took a bite or licked their fingers at least, but if they did, that was the least offensive thing that either of them did. So just saying. Spooky Spoon, thank you so much for the super chat. Korari, I thought my cat was going to throw up. Never mind. My cat just threw up. Don't know what that was about, but I just like that. Is this what you call a water burger over there? See, if you know what a burger, that's funny. All right. Business did more than take a bite. She took a ride. She did more than take a ride too. That's Oh, by the way, tune in on Wednesday for our Taylor Business update. As long as we're talking about hacky, choppy people in Wisconsin that probably took a nibble or two. Wednesday, Taylor Business and other legal news. Let's get to the grand finale of this video.
There was a public outcry, and the general opinion was that the verdict was not just. On the advice of the Home Secretary, Sir William Harcourt, Queen Victoria commuted the sentence
Good on
to
you, Queen.
6 months in prison. Thomas Dudley eventually emigrated to Australia, where he made sails for boats and was known as Cannibal Tom. He died in the year 1900. The whole ordeal took its toll on Edwin Stevens. He began to drink heavily and died in poverty in 1914. Although Edmund Brooks was never charged, he made money out of the whole gruesome episode by appearing in a touring circus. He was known as a cannibal of the high seas and would eat pieces of raw meat thrown at him by the crowd. He died in 1919. In the brilliant book Life of Pi, published in 2001 and written by author Jan Martel, a young boy is adrift in a lifeboat with a Bengal tiger. The tiger's name is Richard Parker.
Oh my God!
No freaking way. Really?
Oh my God, how did I never notice that? I didn't even notice it when I was watching this the first time. I always stopped the video when you started talking about the life of Pi because I figured it was over. That's right. The tiger's name was Richard Parker. I've watched this thing literally 3 times. And every single time when he starts talking about the book Life of Pi, I turn it off because I go, there's like 20 seconds left. That's the end. They're just going to mention being lost at sea. Oh my God. Yeah, the tiger's name was Richard Parker. God damn it. Now I'm going to have to go watch that long ass movie again. All right. You've just watched me watch my brain explode live on my live stream. Wow. Well, yeah, but the Edgar Allan Poe book, yeah, that's what we were talking about at the beginning. For those of you that are joining us midstream, Edgar Allan Poe wrote a book. He wrote a short story like 30 years before this ship was built, where one of the characters, Richard Parker, was eaten by fellow crewmen after they became stranded. So that was so creepily prophetic to even get the guy's name right. But I didn't. Wow! I did not make the connection. I wish I would have kept listening to that when I was preparing this. But yeah, the tiger in the Life of Pi was named Richard Parker. That's way cool. All right. Well, there we go. Uh, huh. Let's see what other things can happen in the last 20 seconds of this video.
And written by author Jan Martel. A young boy is adrift in a lifeboat with a Bengal tiger. The tiger's name is Richard Parker. The book was made into a movie in 2012. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for listening.
Well, hey, we may have to look at the horrifying case of beautiful Veronica Gideon. Okay. Well, that's the story in a nutshell. Hmm. Yeah, that's the story of the mignonette. Rose, trigger warning, cannibalism. If you're triggered by past experiences of cannibalism, you have more problems than my video to worry about. Wow. Okay, I was actually literally stunned by that Richard Parker Life of Pi thing. I wish I had listened to that last sentence of this video. Then I wouldn't have been so surprised. But there's one other video. So it's basically the same thing. The D-Way, nice pics. What pics are we talking about? We're talking about. You've seen my Godzilla pics. You can't possibly be talking about Godzilla. But anywho, yeah, the trigger warning is in the title of the video itself. Oh. All right, now, this next video is it's on the same subject. There's a lot of overlap. It's 6 minutes long, which for me, I guess means it's gonna be about 4 hours. Uh, now it's a 6 minute video, but it sheds a few more details here. All right, the mic position poll is now officially at an end. We have 405 votes. People like the new position of the microphone better. I do too, actually, but you need to kind of do some micro adjustments. But 19% of you like the old place and 81% like the new place. So I guess we'll keep it in the new place. It just feels more open and free here in front of me. More room to wave my hands around. Yes, Jeff finally gets it. 6 minutes equals 4 hours. Oh, and the email I get. I don't know why you have to talk so long about these things. You could do it in a much shorter format. I don't know why this needs to be hours and hours and hours. You're just greedy and trying to drag it out so you can grift more for super chats. No, I just like to talk. That's literally it. I just like spending time with you guys and talking about things. Now see, Barney, you were close. Cannibalism on the filet mignonette. No, it would have been filet on the mignonette if I were to write the book. Just saying. Fondlin, thank you so much for the $10. Deeply.
Did he just pronounce Fondine's name as Fondlin? Did I catch that right?
What the hell? Nice picture of it appears to be a moray eel. That's pretty cool. All right. Adriana, die, Jeff. Oh, DJ Jeff. I said die, Jeff. I was like, well, that's pretty harsh. Yeah, you're the Shure microphone is upside down. I can't not see it. Oh, I know because like I said, this was literally changed 15 seconds before I came on the air. So the Shure microphone will right itself for tomorrow. If you're that distracted, there. Oh, nope, sorry, you're just gonna have to live with it. There. Now you can't tell if the S is upside down or not. All right. We'll make sure it's in the right position tomorrow. All right. Here we go. No, we're not done yet, Tina. We got another cannibal story. It's the same story, but a few more details are brought into play on this video. That's why I wanted to, despite the redundancies. Oh, Mr. Upper Torso, thank you for the super chat. My gosh, people are so rude. Here, take my money instead. You can grift me any day. Hey, grift, grift, grift. Super chat, super chat, super chat. There we go. Got that out of the way. Friday was a good day. We don't have to super chat much. Just my usual mid, and my beginning of the stream and midstream. That's kind of it. All right, but I do grift for likes. Likes are easy and free to do. Oh, Casey. Before we get to the other 6-minute video, this is something interesting. Is people ask, is Nick streaming today? Does anyone know? I don't know if he's going to be streaming at night, but at 1 p.m. Central, he will be on Alex Jones's InfoWars. So, yeah, Nick Rekieta will be on Alex Jones's show. I believe it's 1 p.m. Central. I'm sure if you go to his locals, he'll have all the details there. So, what part of the human body do you think is the best? Well, Casey, shame on you for asking that question. Oh, do you have a little bulldog too? Is that a bulldog? I can't see. Oh, it looks bulldoggy. Which part of the human body do you think is best? It would have to be a fatty part of the body. Like a white meat part of the body. Huh. I would probably go with like under the arm, with like the triceps, because that would seem to have like a good mix of
Personally, I say thigh. But anyway, uh, so glad Nick is doing better. Yep, he does look better.
of
But yeah, I say thigh.
meat and fat. Thighs, the back of the thighs, more than the front of the thighs. People were saying here. Oh, see, this is the thing, Jeff. That was a warning. You will die. We're going to cannibalize you. I'm dead. I don't give a shit. Just don't make me dead so you can eat me. I would
Well, foreshadowing. Sorry.
probably object to that. Yeah, that's interesting. So I would guess either like the triceps or the like somewhere around the hamstring, like the back of the thighs, or the foot. The foot might be a nice little kind of like depending if they're like healthy or fat. If they're fat, then like the calves maybe. Why am I talking about this? Now the butt cheeks would be like way too muscly. That'd just be like eating shoe leather probably. I mean, it might make a good stew, but yeah. Crazy Cat Queen. If I'm ever on the high seas and we're starving, I'm cutting off my leg and serving calf tenderloin, partial steak tartare, so we all survive. Well, there's actually a very, very interesting story, a short story written by Stephen King. I believe it was in his book Night Shift or one of his other books. Where it's about this doctor, I think Four Before Midnight. It was in one of his short story collections. A doctor is on a ship. He crashes. He gets shipwrecked on this ocean, and apparently there was some heroin or something on the ship with him, and that's the only thing he's got is like himself and a bag of heroin. Uh, he tries to catch fish, doesn't work. He tries to catch some seagulls, it doesn't work. He throws a rock and breaks a seagull's wing, and while he's scrambling across the rocks to get to the seagull, he breaks his ankle, and then he's screwed. He can't catch birds or fish anymore. He's starting to rot, so he decides to start taking some of the heroin and carving off pieces of his body for nourishment because he's a surgeon. He knows how to do this, and he basically like just goes through his legs. And the short story is so cool because as the doctor is going along and describing which parts he's eating, he's also becoming a massive heroin addict. And so the writing is becoming it's his diary entry. So the writing is becoming more and more erratic. And then finally he has to go for his writing fingers and the journal ends. It's a great short story. That's one of my favorite Stephen King short stories because I'm sick. Baloney Bong again disregards emails. Remain high seas grifter. I don't ignore the emails. I really don't. I read them all, and then I kind of forget to go. The ones that okay, email. Uh, the ones that suggest things for Maritime Monday, they get read and put like in a list. The ones that ask me questions, I usually try to answer them. Uh, but I usually look at my email about once a week because I'm just super, super, super busy. I don't disregard your emails. I would never do that. I just forget to answer some of them. Now I'm guilted into going back. I'll look at the email tomorrow. It was too busy this weekend, but I'll go look at it. Cicada Mania, thank you so much for the super chat. Bourdain said the cheeks would be, yeah, well, but there's not a lot of meat there. But I mean, the cheeks of anything are good. If you get like fish cheeks and things, oh my God, like pork jowls. Yeah, good point. The cheeks would be the best, but they're small. I was thinking like quantity over quality, I guess. Long pig belly, yeah, long pork belly. I got way too much fat. You could just sort of use me to grease the pan. All right, we caught up on the super chat. Wow, I sound like Alex Jones there. We caught up on the super chats. Let's go. Let's watch this last version of the story, and then we'll call it an early night. We're doing pretty good today. And I'm trying while the Brooks trial is going on because I expect Nick to be calling me, and I really do need to get some sleep. So I'm thinking about just kind of keeping it around 1 hour, 1.5 hours while this Brooks trial is going on. So tonight's kind of a dry run. Here we go. The story of the Mignonette, the 6 minute and 20-second version. It is more about the aftermath. What happens after? Frank and beans.
On July 5th, 1884, a small yacht carrying 4 crewmen got caught in a storm off the Cape of Good Hope and sank in just 5 minutes. The men only managed to grab a few tins of turnips before the ship sank, but no fresh water. In the following weeks, they floated aimlessly in a flimsy lifeboat hundreds of miles from land. When the 17-year-old cabin boy lost consciousness, the captain killed him so the men could eat his flesh to survive.
Nom, nom, nom.
Just a few days later, they were rescued. Today, we explore the story of the Mignonette and the gruesome murder that sparked a landmark case involving survival cannibalism. Built in 1867, the Mignonette was a 52-foot yacht designed for coastal sailing. But when an Australian lawyer visiting England bought the boat in 1883, he wanted it delivered to his home in Australia. This, of course,
Okay, real quick here. Rose and others are saying you need to stream the trial today. Don't kill me. Today in America is Columbus Day, so the court is not in session. There is no court hearing today. So, yeah, no trial today. Sorry to disappoint you. Back to the story.
posed a challenge, as Australia was thousands of miles away and the Mignonette was not designed for such an arduous journey. Nevertheless, the wealthy lawyer was determined to get his yacht, and he managed to find someone foolhardy enough to take on the challenge for a reasonable fee, 31-year-old Captain Tom Dudley. And so, on May 19, 1884, the Mignonette set off on the 15,000-mile journey from Southampton, England, to Sydney, Australia. Captain Dudley's crew consisted of 37-year-old Edwin Stevens, 39-year-old Edmund Brooks,
Hey,
and
Merms.
an orphaned 17-year-old cabin boy by the name of Richard Parker. On July 5th, the Mignonette hit a gale about 1,500 miles northwest of the Cape of Good Hope. As the young cabin boy went below decks to make the crew tea before bedtime, a wave struck the boat and washed away the bulwark. Realizing the ship was doomed, they all jumped into a 13-foot wooden dinghy with just enough time for Dudley to grab the compass and a few tins of turnips before the ship went down. Stranded hundreds of miles from the nearest land with no fresh water, the situation quickly grew dire. They managed to catch a sea turtle at one point, which offered them momentary respite from hunger, but with no water, the men continued to suffer from severe dehydration. After failing to catch any rainwater, they eventually resorted to drinking their own urine. Presumably mad with thirst, the 17-year-old cabin boy, Richard Parker, turned to drinking seawater as a final resort. This, of course, made him violently ill and put him on the brink of a coma. According to later testimony, there had been discussion among the men about a sacrificial killing, but the topic was dropped.
A sacrificial killing makes it sound so religious. I need to move this back down. Sorry, you'll just have to put up with the backwards sure sign. Yeah. People are saying there is court in Wisconsin, and checking out Law and Crime, they seem to think that there is a trial today as well. Huh. Well, you don't say. Let me think about it for a few minutes here. Wait, need to push stop, push play.
But now that the young cabin boy seemed to be on the brink of death anyway, it presented the perfect opportunity to kill and eat him for the sake of the group. Captain Dudley rationalized killing him by explaining that he and Stevens had wives and
Liz Bob, maybe just like a quick little thing would have helped. Yes, being a supposedly nefarious incisors. Forgot that this occurred on our birthday. Oh yeah, July 5th. Yeah, happy birthday, I guess, right?
families to live for. Parker was just an orphan. Around July 25th, the decision was made. Parker would have to die if the others were to live. Dudley signaled to Stevens to hold Parker's legs if he struggled. After a quick prayer, Dudley drove his penknife into Parker's jugular and killed him. The three men drank Parker's blood and fed on his body over the next few days. Presumably overcome with guilt, Stevens ate very little of Parker. Dudley later described the gruesome scene
Does it matter how much you eat when you're being a cannibal?
during the trial, saying, "I can assure you I shall never forget the sight of my two unfortunate companions over that ghastly meal." On July 29th, the three survivors were rescued by a German sailing ship. They insisted on taking Parker's remains to England for a proper burial. Once ashore in Falmouth, England, all three men assumed Parker's killing was justified and that they would be protected by the custom at sea. This custom basically dictated that shipwrecked survivors could sacrifice someone through a random selection process called drawing lots, which meant drawing straws, sticks, or pebbles, or whatever object might be available after a shipwreck, and whoever got the shortest straw or stick would be the unfortunate chosen one. As the three men told customs officials about murdering and eating the young boy, a police officer named Laverty overheard them and told his friends down at the station. This selection process, thought Laverty, didn't sound so random. As a result, the men were arrested for murder on the high seas. The public was surprisingly forgiving. Being in a coastal city, the townspeople were accustomed to losing loved ones to the sea, and so they were sympathetic to the situation the three men found themselves in. Perhaps most surprising, the victim's brother even showed forgiveness by shaking the men's hands in court. The court, on the other hand, was not so forgiving. Authorities at the time were worried about the custom of the sea and the dangerous precedent it set for unpunished murders. And so, it was decided that Dudley and Stevens must be punished to set an example. Indeed, no law stated that necessity, in their case starvation, was a defense for taking young Richard Parker's life. Dudley and Stevens were convicted of murder and sentenced to be executed. The other sailor, Edmund Brooks, was discharged as it was determined he had always been against killing Parker.
Brooks was
though
a murderer?
ironically, it was he and Dudley who ate most of Parker. In the end, due to a lack of evidence and what was described by one historian as a complete mess of a court case, their sentence was commuted to just 6 months. Thomas Dudley would go down in history as the Cannibal Captain, which was the headline used to announce his death from bubonic plague in 1900. While Dudley and Stevens only served a minimal sentence for killing and eating someone, the case is still discussed as an example of necessity as a defense and whether murder is ever justified for survival. So, what do you think of this case? Does taking one's life justify saving three others? What would you have done in this situation? Thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoy stories about ships and maritime history, please consider subscribing to be notified when I post a new video. Your feedback and support are greatly appreciated.
Okay, that is the end of that. Yeah, okay, we see that the trial is being held today. Apparently, in Wisconsin, they don't care about Don't care about Christopher Columbus. All right, yeah, that's definitely got to be moved. So, do you want me to do it? I can do probably the morning session. I can't do the entire thing. I do need sleep. I could probably do the morning session until the lunch break. Yeah, I can do that if we want it. Stream it. Yes, 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 yes. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Okay. Well, let me wrap this up. Then I'll go set up another stream, and then we'll get right onto it. Uh, so all right, I got a few super chats here to get through.
How's it going, Zach? Welcome, welcome. And Lefty, how are you doing? Did you manage to keep the 500? I'm very curious.
Uh, by the way, do you guys like? Was this an interesting topic? Do we like this? Because I was thinking about doing another cannibal on the high seas case next week. Do we want more? Want more
Oh yeah. Congratulations, Lefty. Ah, finally. Good news, good news.
cannibalism? Do you want if you want more cannibalism, let me know and we'll do more cannibalism next week. All right, yes, we love cannibalism on this channel, of course. Okay, so next week, as Fondlin said, ask a mortician. She did a really good
I hate how he says Fondant's name as Fondlin. I hate that. It bothers me.
video on the real story of Moby Dick. The real story of Moby Dick is a horror story of cannibalism. So I was actually going to do that next week. I was going to do Ask a Mortician's Moby Dick video next week. So let's do that. More cannibalism coming at you next week. Steve, thank you so much. Your grift is weak today. There is court in Wisconsin today, with the exception of one county. Yep, we'll be there. They're starting live in 1 minute, so I got to wrap this up, and then it'll take me about 5 minutes to get ready. But hang around for the channel. The notification will go out. Just keep refreshing about 4 minutes from now, 4 minutes from the time we end, and it'll be there. Um, Thank you so much for the super chat. I love King now. I tried to read Night Shift freshman year in college. Couldn't get past Boogeyman. Made my roommate keep the nightlight on and the closet doors open at night because it freaked me out so much. I like his stories. Purple AJ, thank you so much. Nick just posted locals that he can't do the trial. Yeah, well,
Yeah, Flux eventually when it still bothers me that he's saying Fondlin instead of Fondayan.
when I was talking to him about it, he's like, no, it's Columbus Day. There's no, oh yeah, I forgot it was Columbus Day. But apparently nobody cares about Columbus Day in Wisconsin. So we're going to go do that. Make sure I got everything here. Hey, everybody. That's like going to be the end of Maritime Monday today. Join us next week when we do it again for more cannibals. Tomorrow, Alec Baldwin, settlement and other issues, settlement and other lawsuits. On Wednesday, we'll be talking Taylorship business and other legal news. Thursday, we're going to get back to OJ Simpson and the cross examination of Mark Furman. Friday, there's a 90% chance I won't be here because Legal Mindset and I will be down the beach from my house, probably getting liquored up beyond any reasonable amount. But we might pop on and do a quick little live stream from whatever dive bar we happen to find ourselves in. We'll check in one way or the other. But regardless of whether there's a Friday stream, there will be pictures. We'll make some pictures and videos. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to cut this short. Thank you so much, mods, for being here. Thank you so much. You were all a huge support today. Thank you so much for all of you all the new people that came today, all the old people that came today. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button on your way out if you haven't. If you have, double check to make sure you're still subscribed. I love all of you guys, and I will see you in 5 minutes on a completely separate stream. I'm out of here, and until I see, I was looking at my watch and I don't have a watch. Until I see you 5 minutes from now, don't forget to enjoy your legal vices. Bye.
Well, before I talk, let me unmute myself. Jesus. As I was saying, let me switch some stuff over. No, no, no. Oh, I'm struggling. Oh, I'm struggling. You know what? Yeah. I don't blame you for calling me that. Yeah. Wow. That was I don't know what happened there. Connor, is this a Maritime Monday on a Tuesday tradition or ad hoc whenever? It's ad hoc whenever. Pretty much. Thanks for hosting. No problem. Thanks for being here. Oh, eventually, yes. Connor, did you get his Rolexes? Okay, so here's the thing. Um, I know he has more watches than I have. So I am very curious and I'm very confused where they are. Because I've brought everything that I could find. But I know he has way more. Or I assume he has way more. Because that doesn't seem enough, you know? But I got a lot of stuff that matters, I guess. And yes, Flux, I did say that comment. The next one is Birth of Mocha Dick. Well, make sure you tune in to the next one. If whatever that may be. Because I'm literally just squishing all these into whenever I have time to do these things. So, yeah. Cool that you got some as keepsakes. Yep, for sure. Well, hey, let's send you to uh Lar 90. There you go. Do you have the watch that was an old Russian jet doll? Yep, was that the giant one? Because I have another one that is like a tiny actual watch. Because I think the giant one, the like it was like that big. I think I left it. I don't know. But while I wait for the answer, thank you everyone for joining. Really, for plans tomorrow. Tomorrow nothing's gonna happen because I got invited to the tiny one. Yes, the tiny one. I do have it. Um, actually, Max. I think it was uh Max Mura told me about it, and I have it. I think it was Max Mura that told me about it. It could have been someone else, but yes, I do have that one. So all good here. Tomorrow, I got invited to my best friend's house to have dinner. His mom actually texted me while I was at work and invited me over, which is awesome. So I'll have some good old enchiladas from this sweet Mexican lady. Friggin' love her. Uh, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll play it as we'll play it by ear. How about that? So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you everyone for being here. Please, on your way out, hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't done already. And if you have hit the subscribe button, please double check that you are still subscribed because YouTube is asshole and can unsubscribe you without letting you know. Say hi to Lar90 for me. And hope everyone has a beautiful morning, evening, night, wherever you are. Stay beautiful, stay lovely. I love you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.
Well, that's all for this stream, but it's been so sweet. Thanks for hanging with us. It's been a treat. We'll keep it warm, keep it real, take it slow. Catch you next time when the vibes are ready to flow. If you enjoyed the ride, give us a like, subscribe for the warmth. Come back whenever you like. Until then, take it easy. Don't rush, don't hurry. I'll be here waiting. No need to worry. advice, baby, always by your side. Stay cozy, stay calm, let the good times ride. Peace for now, but we'll meet again. Take care, my friend, until then.